Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to another episode with Niti and Avinash. Today, we'll be talking about life in Germany with interesting insights on this topic. So, let's get started.
All right, for today's episode, we have something important milestone in our lives. We are speaking about both of us moving to Germany, me to pursue my career, and Nithi to join me as a spouse back in 2022. This is a special episode for us because it involves some of the personal stories that we have, the struggles that we face, the bureaucratic troubles that we had. Also, not just to complain, but we have a lot of good stories to tell you guys. Honestly, it's been very rewarding. A lot of experiences. As I said, good stories. I think it's fair that we talk about it. And let's start with the very beginning, where it all started. Question to you. So, how was your last weeks in India when you were trying to pack and move to Germany? What was going through your head?
It was a mix of emotions because it was all. There was a part of me that was sad, leaving everything behind, right from the things that I liked, maybe the room I stayed, or maybe the city I lived, my favorite things, because you cannot pack your entire life into one baggage and then move across countries. So that was the sad part. But then I was really happy, excited to start my new life with you here because that was what I was waiting for so long. So I was very happy to move here with you. And the few days were about, we almost spent the whole days on phone, having all the conversations, what to pack, what to get, because I think with you being here and guiding me from here was the major turning point because I didn't know anything about Germany or what to pack or what are the essential things that you need here, right from medicines that you need to the warm clothes that you get. Everything was important, every little detail. So it was all about excitement, but yet thinking what is necessary and taking all the stuff with you. But it was a major transition in life, and I feel that is the most beautiful feeling any newly married bride can have in her life. And I consider myself the lucky one here.
But do you think it's a perfect scenario that happened? Getting married, moving to a new place, especially to Europe. Did you have that kind of an excitement? Or was it more like, were you too involved in the bureaucracy because it was not an easy procedure to get the visa approved, a lot of documents to gather, the waiting periods, the confusion? Also, you were concerned about, of course, we used to follow Facebook for this procedures to see if something's going well or if people have the same problems. So at that point, did the bureaucracy somehow overshadow your excitement, or did you find a balance between these two?
Yeah, it was scary at that moment because there was a lot of spouse visas getting rejected because they had to run a background check on the marriage, whether it is.
I think the most scary part was getting this marriage verified. No, so we were
Yes.
really worried about that thing because first of all, it was an interreligion marriage,
Yeah.
and but we had certificates from the government, but we still were really scared if we found ourselves in the situation where we had to get our marriage um, verified by a lawyer, and it involves both money and time.
Yeah.
It was already about 4 5 months since we started the process, and we were at the brink of getting exhausted at that point. But I think for me, the moment I heard that you got the visa changed everything because I could just forget what happened before the visa, before the bureaucratic stuff. I forgot everything, and it was really exciting for me as well that you were joining here. So
Yeah. I remember it was like 6 months that we had to wait for the visa to get processed and then reach us. And you were here. I was there for 6 months. Even after marriage, it was kind of a long distance relationship. So,
True.
but yeah, you would travel, but still, it was not like I already started my life with you here. So also there was fear of rejection and then reapplication and all those stuff. But there was a lot of documentation because before marriage, what documents you have is way different than after marriage because there's a name change process that goes on and there's a lot of stuff that gets changed, maybe an address. I had to move all my documents to your home address and all those stuff took so long just to get a visa here, and that was the downside of all the paperwork, and it took too long.
Once you reached the airport after preparing everything, after packing, what was your first thing that came to your mind? What did you think? What was the first point?
Ah, finally. That was my expression. Finally. And still, I was like so restless because the flight was so long, and I was like, somehow, let me just reach. And I was so restless and with that excitement, and I traveled, but I was just waiting for the moment to touch down here. And the happy moment was when I saw you in the airport waiting for me. That was a golden moment, and I will always cherish that moment.
Great, same for me though.
Yeah.
Okay, after you came here, did you ever find yourself thinking, what is this country? Why is it in this way? Do you find yourself thinking about some things like this?
Yes, of course. There's a lot of instances, but one particular thing is when I reached here, it was in December that I traveled. So it was almost like Christmas and New Year vibes going around. And I was so happy. You took me to Christmas markets and we went shopping. I was so happy that, okay, this Christmas and New Year is going to be so nice. And I was thinking about all these things. But then I realized when you said that there's going to be nothing on the weekends, everything is closed. Even on Christmas, on the day of New Year, everything is closed. There's not one single shop that's opened. And even from the basic needs, like even the medical shop is closed. That was the moment when I wondered, oh my God, what is this country? Like, that is a moment when back in India people would get out, they celebrate, they just there's lights and everything around and all the shops are open, people just go out anywhere, wherever they like. But here it was so different. It was completely silent, and there's particular time for fireworks, and there's particular set of rules how you would celebrate, and I saw no people on the streets, so it was way shocking for me.
Yeah, I think I just realized one more thing that we saw Germany very differently. Even though we live the same life now, I think the way I experienced Germany is very different from how you experienced, especially in terms of having someone supporting here for the first time when you arrive is very important. Now that I see is very important. So probably you didn't go through the trouble that I went through when I came first. It was really, really challenging for me when I came to Germany. I still remember the first day that I got into the flight. I landed in Frankfurt, and the cab was, or there was a cab arranged from the university where I had to wait, and the guy would hold the board for me, and I had to check, and I boarded the cab. Unfortunately, at that point, I did not get a dorm in the university. I had to stay somewhere in a hostel for the first few weeks, I guess. I don't remember properly, but I think it's 1 week that I had to stay outside the university. The moment I stepped into this hostel was really, really one of a kind experience, because the moment I went to this room, first of all, I reached around 10 p.m. And in Germany, 10 p.m. is the oh, I don't know. You don't see anyone. You don't see any reception. You don't see anyone sitting in the reception. I didn't know all this. Even though they wrote me a very detailed email, what to do, when to do, it was really confusing because, first of all, I was scared, to be honest. And also, the journey that I came from, the transit through the airports, because I never flew international before. So it was first time. Although there were already my friends here. I remember one thing. One mistake that I did was the cell phone that I got. I had done a recharge for international calling. Stupid of me, in the airport I called a different person back in India, and I spent all the money on the recharge. So I didn't have anything to call my friends in Germany when they were supposed to meet me in this hostel. So they were clueless what time I would reach, and I was clueless when they would come. So what I did was, after I checked in somehow, I found the keys and I checked into the hostel. Um, you know this culture that people sleep naked, right? So I
Yes.
was straight back from after my bachelor, so I was not aware of it. Um, yeah, I was not aware of it, and I saw it for the first time in my dorm because it was a mixed dorm. There were 6 beds in the single room, and I saw this guy sleeping naked, and I was really terrified at that time. It also made me think, or it made me question, did I really make a right decision? Am I really capable of handling situations? Not just because of the nakedness, but also because so many things were going in my head. If I can really manage here. Also, not able to contact my friend because of the phone was also some of the one of the major reasons that I felt this way. Maybe. But after a while, I settled down. I went to the university the next day. My friends started making fun of me for calling a different person rather than him. He was making fun of me. It was okay. The first day we had an orientation. I went there, experienced the first days in the university. It was quite well. Then I thought, okay, maybe I can survive. So this was really tough. Um, it's really hard to put into words how I felt at that point. But yeah, as I said, as and when the days passed, it was really good learning curve. I did well. I was going through each and every aspect of German life here. It became easy day by day. So that's how I learned, by experience, not by people telling me how or what, but I really learned it by experience.
Yeah, I can relate to what you're saying because when I entered here as your wife, of course there was you to guide me through every hurdle or everything that I don't know. You were there to guide me, but I can relate when you came here. It was 2013. Back then, I know that Germany was way more conservative than it is today. So I can imagine the struggles that you went through. And
Yeah.
given these instances, do you think that you ever doubted moving here, or did you ever doubt, like, why am I here? Should I go back to India?
Not in terms of should I go back to India, but in terms of thinking whether this was a good decision. Probably this was due to lack of knowledge, lack of support. But now, if you ask me, being in this moment, if you ask me, did you ever think about it? I did. I did think, but not really, as I said, in terms of going back or not, but in terms of how do I survive here? Because there was no way that I could go back because it was too late. I spent a lot of money, time, and efforts here. So I wanted to somehow pass through it, be successful, try to make a life for myself. That was just my motivation.
Given your situation when you moved, you said you had very few friends that you could contact and make friends with. So, do you feel that you were very lonely, and were you actually lonely at that time? Was it depressing when you
When
moved?
I moved first to Germany, or
Yeah, when you,
generally during this years?
whatever you can relate to.
Yeah, interesting question. I didn't feel lonely, apart from the first 2 days that I came to Germany because of the troubles with the hostel and communicating with my friends. Apart from that, the only time that I felt a bit lonely was when I found my first job. My first job was a real full time job, was in Kassel. I moved there. Okay. Moving itself was a very big change for me because I really don't like moving more often. I want to be at one place, settle down, see what I have, and enjoy what's going on around me. I'm really not a person who would move very frequently, but I had to move because, as you know, it was very difficult to find my first job after my master's. So I had to move to Castle, and this was my first full time working job. I've never worked before, even in India. I never worked before in a full time job. I came to Germany right after my bachelor's. This was a typical German company back in 2015. So the colleagues were German. Of course, it was a English company where we did business in English. But as you can imagine, all the meetings and the casual talks, the coffee breaks. I was the only one who spoke really good English. Um, they were communicating in German. It was a bit difficult, but I did. I have to give a shout out to Jan, who really helped me through the first job because he was the one who took care of my hiring process and did the orientation of the company. Yeah, it was. He made the journey a bit easier for me to traverse to the company and start my first few weeks. But as and when time went, you know that Germans are off after the work time. So you can talk with them, share things with them when you are 9 to 5 in the office, but after 5, everything gets switched off. So you go to your personal life, they go to their personal life. It's very rarely that you talk to colleagues after work. I really envy people who talk to their colleagues after work because I also try to find people like them. Um, but yeah, in Castle it was very difficult. It was a difficult time for me. I used to go back home, binge watch series, eat, cook. One thing that supported me is really my cooking because I used to cook really special dishes, which used to take a lot of time. This made me spend time during my evenings. I made friends just to go for bowling or maybe play mini golf because this is really popular in Castle. I really love the place as well. So this is how I pass my time in Castle. But when you go back home in a very long run, I worked there for 1.5 years. I really felt alone at some point because after work, you don't have anyone to talk to. You just have your family back home. You're calling home. It's not really a good feeling to be alone. So that's the point I felt a bit alone. Apart from that, I think I did cope up from there. Found myself indulging in hobbies that really was fun for me. As I said, bowling, mini golf, also exploring new restaurants in the city. Yeah, this is how I navigated through it. Now that you asked me for my most depressed time in Germany, I think it's fair that you tell us what was your most difficult time in Germany. Did you ever cry? Did some instance make you cry? Is there something that stands out?